Hi, Mike Kennedy with you today again, and we're looking at the Pentax Auto 110. This is a single lens reflex camera, interchangeable lenses. If I press that right, okay, this is the 28, one of the sharpest lenses ever made for a sub-miniature camera. Is this lens right here. I also have the 18 and the 50, so I have a wide angle and the telephoto. They also made a zoom. They made some longer telephotos. This can take a motor drive. They made a number of models of these. There was the super model, which could take film at ASA 400 as well. This model defaults to thinking all the film is ASA 400, but actually 110 film has a tab on it, and the way this tab was cut would index into certain cameras and allow that camera to tell it what ASA it was. This camera does not have that feature, okay? But there would be an arm that would come up and could actually tell whether this part was cut in half or not. Okay, so the big advantage to this, of course, was drop-in loading. 110 film is 16 millimeters wide. It has a paper backing. Okay, Lomo is making 110 film again, so these cameras are completely usable again. They take the S or A76 battery, which is currently available, so there's no problem getting this up and running again. You can also reload 110 cartridges, believe it or not. An older cartridge like this from Kodak is ideal because the glue is brittle now and it will snap apart. Okay, now to reload 110 film, generally you have to have a camera that doesn't need the sprocket hole. Okay, let me just explain that for a minute. 110 had a sprocket hole, one single sprocket hole, and actually they pre-exposed a black mask around here. Okay, so a camera would advance until it hit that sprocket hole. This arm would come up and tell it it's indexed, and then it would stop. Well, this camera uses the index code to do it, but if you don't have an index code, a sprocket hole, this camera will still function. In other words, it has it, but it doesn't need it. So that means I can take 16 millimeter unperforated film and put it in here and use it. Okay, now the way the camera's set up, I've got to do something that I can use at ASA 80, okay, or abouts, but that's usually not too much of a problem. Here's our little battery over here. They fit right in like this. And these are very rugged cameras. I have several of them, and I've never had one that didn't work, but I'm sure they malfunction just like anything else. They could take a motor drive. You can see the pin for that. There's some contacts here too. The flash that it took is very interesting. Almost as large as the camera. My goodness. It took 2 AA batteries. Back then everything was AA batteries, right? And has an interesting system of, here's your electrical contact. You would screw this in, but you can see there's also a little pin here that it touches. And what that does is automatically, once you put this on, now your shutter speed is always going to be 1/30 of a second. So kind of a hack when I was using the camera in low light, and it has it's all auto exposure. You just have to focus, everything else is automatic. The exposure, shutter speeds. Okay, I could press this button and default to 1/30 of a second. So if I was in low light, I could take a 1/30 of a second exposure with this, and not have it time out to something like 2 seconds or something. This has a red warning light in it. Will tell you when there's too little light, tell you to put the flash on or put it on a tripod or something. There's a flash ranges here. This is keyed into, again, ASA 80, which was the most popular film first. But of course now, most of the film you find now is ASA 400, but ASA 400 will still work fine in this. I do find that using the flash at close distances with ASA 400 film, it gives it a little bit of a burnt out result, but any other use is just fine. But so there we have it, the 110 single lens reflex camera. And I actually have an article that I'm looking for again. I saved it from Peterson's Photographic Magazine, which was considered a very good magazine at the time. And there's an article, a one-page article, talking about how this would replace 35 millimeter. Well, it never quite did. But still, you know, as we've gone into the digital era, sometimes we've forgotten that before the digital era, film hit an extremely high peak of technical achievement. So you would be surprised now what this camera can do with modern film in it. They improved color film, well, black and white too, but it's just amazing. If you were, I worked in the photo industry for 14 years, and seeing the change in the quality of the film. I wasn't in it when C22 was around, but the beginning of C41 and seeing the development of tabular grain type films, or say grain size controlled films, remarkable latitude being built into film for under or over exposure. Amazing just what the heights that film achieved. And that film is still available, of course. But this is a really interesting and fun camera to use, the Pentax 110 Auto SLR.